Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good morning.
Welcome back, Sierrans. It's been at least 2 years since we've been here, right? So this is not a bad turnout for tonight because the weather is going to be kind of bad, I'm afraid.
But it's almost through.
It's almost done.
It's almost done.
It's almost gone. All right, so we'll be okay.
Okay.
First, we're going to go back to our old format. We're going to do, if there's any committee chairs present, and there aren't many, we're going to have a report from the committee chairs. Normally, we would go first with conservation/eco action. I know Victoria's not here. Catherine Bazan, you're not here either, right?
Nobody's here.
Okay, she's not here. We're not going to have any report on the Conservation Eco Action Committee.
Too busy.
They're doing a lot of stuff. That's all they need to know. They're doing a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
And Renee's at a different meeting.
take my word for it. Okay, then the next committee we'll look at.
Or maybe Dan, who's new? Who's never been here?
Oh, yeah. If there's anyone who hasn't been here before and is interested in, say, getting our newsletter for free
Or just saying hello.
on your email, Liz, you want to come up here? Huh? You want to come
Just
up?
wanna make sure you do. Forgetting things.
Hey, I've been off for 2 years. Give me a break. Make sure you fill out one of these white forms over here at this first table. If you're a visitor, first time, and you've never signed up for our free newsletter. What harm, right? You don't have to read it if it comes, but you might want to. Wendell, do you want to say anything about membership? You
Nope,
being
just thank everyone for Oak Cliff Earth Day and go back once. First timers, raise your hand. First timers. First timers, down here, first timers.
I'll say I'm first timer community.
All right. Sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's time.
Okay.
It's time for us to move the calendar.
we have swag.
Oh, I'm sure.
All right, David Griggs is our political committee chair, and he's got some political stuff he would like to talk about right now.
All right, thank you, Dan. And hello, everyone. I know many of you, but there's some new folks here that may not have been here before. I will say something about membership, though, because we never say enough about it. Most people don't realize that this is a membership organization. There are brochures up here in the front, and these brochures tell you a little bit about our program. And on the back, there is a form where you can fill it out and send it in with your $15 initial membership. That's all it takes. If you are an online person, you can go to our website and do it with a credit card that way. A lot of people just like to do it that way. But if you're old-fashioned and you like to actually have a piece of paper and put it in an envelope and a stamp, we have that for you too. We'd love to have you actually be a member. Now, why is that important? It's important because we need to have you on a list so that when we do political action, we'll know who to contact and we'll be able to get you involved in that political program. If there is a candidate that we are endorsing, we're going to want to send you something that will acknowledge that endorsement. And unless we have you as a member and we have your mailing address, you're not going to get the postcard. So there's a lot of reasons why we need you to be a real member of the organization. And that's why they make it so inexpensive to join. But anyway, I'm David Griggs. I'm the political chair. We are involved in political endorsements at the local level, the state level, and the national level. Most of you know that the Dallas group is part of the chapter, the Lone Star chapter, which is of Texas. And the National Club has 63 chapters across the country. And we are one of 9 groups in the state of Texas. It's a part of our Lone Star chapter. And we do make endorsements. We've made endorsements in state house races. We've made one major endorsement for the runoff on the 24th of May, which I want to make sure you know about. His name is Jay Kleberg. Jay is running for Land Commissioner, the head of the General Land Office. The person who holds that office now is running for for Attorney General. That's George P. Bush. He's vacating that office. He's running on the Republican side for Attorney General against Paxton. So that office is going to be open for a new nominee on the Republican side and a new nominee on the Democratic side. Jay Kleberg is running for the Democratic nomination. That will be decided on May the 24th. And of course, early voting will be a week or so before that. But we are making a major push because he is a conservationist. He's someone who really cares about the environment. His family is of Kleberg County. His great-great-great-grandfather was the founder of the King Ranch down in that part of the state, so you may know about his background and so forth. He's dedicated himself to conservation for many, many years. So please be sure you vote in that runoff and vote for Jay Kleberg for Land Commissioner. We've made several other endorsements. They are on our website, which is turntexasgreen.org. That's where you can actually make a donation if you'd like to help those candidates. You can push the donate button with your credit card at turntexasgreen.org. We'd love to have you participate. So it's great to have everybody back. We hope to continue our meetings either in this room or the one down there in the coming months. So we'll be in this building. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Anybody want a brochure?
Jay Kleberg knows something about land management.
Not yet?
Okay, I want to tell you what next month's program is going to be, Tuesday, May 10th, Electronic Recycling Bonanza. Ever wonder how to recycle office items like wall partitions? Not sure where to recycle certain electronics? Ever cringe at having to throw away an item that can't be donated? Then please join us in a conversation with Terry Schultz from United Electronic Recycling, a top-rated electronic recycling company headquartered locally in Capel, Texas. Blah, blah, blah.
It's a very important thing.
In 2020 alone, their team recycled over 8 million pounds of electronic waste and, of course, kept it out of the landfill, redirected it to be reused for new products. UER, that's the company, United Electronic Recycling, hosts monthly electronic drop-offs in the Metroplex, as well as pickup options for recyclers. So that's next Tuesday, May 10th. Okay, now at this point, we'll have one more committee report. We should do something on outdoors. Liz, you and Arthur, or just you, Liz, come on up here.
I can do both.
Okay, come up and tell about the, what's going on with our
Absolutely.
outdoor program, which is why many people are in the club.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Liz Whelan, and I welcome all of you. For those of you that are interested in outings, just be sure to sign up. There is an electronic monthly newsletter on the that you can click on the website, and you'll just get it once a month, and it'll give you updates of things going on. Those things are also on our calendar, so there are different ways to get it if you don't want the email, but you'll be the first to know if you do sign up for the email, which is kind of nice for a lot of people. Mark texted me that he's got quite a drive and wasn't.
He's right here, just walked in.
I was going to tell him about Bandolier.
Oh, yes, tell everybody about Bandolier because we're going there on Memorial Day weekend.
I have the dates, and we have 6 spots open.
What are those dates?
have one this weekend.
Well, I sold 3 of them this afternoon, I think. But we're going to Bandolier, and it's not backpacking.
He just came.
It's day hiking. Kind of long day hikes, like 6 or 7 miles a day. But we go back to the same base camp every night. We're going to leave the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend, and everybody can be back at home on the evening of Monday, Memorial Day.
The 30th.
We're actually camping at Bandolier National Monument, and we'll do 1, maybe 2 hikes within the monument itself, but other hikes, in a total of 6 hikes we'll do. Everybody gets 1 hike on each day. We'll be outside the monument in Santa Fe National Forest, and for the first time, the Valles Caldera National Preserve is open to devoted hikers. So I'm really excited to get there and see what that big volcanic caldera looks like walking around there. $100 covers camping fees, and it's going to be a good time. Stacy, you're coming, right?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Okay, I would advise that you sign up. This is not a bus trip. Everyone provides his or her own transportation, or we are maintaining a list of people who would like riders to carpool or would like to join a carpool. We'll try to help you, but ultimately everybody is responsible for own transportation. We cannot assign carpools. There's just too much risk liability of that. I would advise you to sign up this week because
If you sold 3, we're down to 2 or 3
people from
spaces.
Austin called and said, hey, we read about this trip. We see it's not backpacking. We'd really like to do day hikes out there. Could we sign up? I said, yeah, but do it quickly. Okay, it's going to be fun. And if Bandolier isn't your gig, we are planning to go to South San Juan Wilderness and backpack in the last week of June. The dates are online.
Where?
in South San Juan Wilderness. This is near Platoro, Colorado. It is remote and it's beautiful. We've been there, but not for about 5 or 6 years. And then we're going to the Pecos Wilderness to backpack on the days ending with Labor Day weekend in September. Good stuff coming up.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Liz.
But watch your calendar and everything, because we'll be adding day hikes and doing things too. So we're just kind of getting things going after COVID. We've had some restrictions lifted, and we're getting back on trail.
Quick hikes. Arthur's got a trip to
This weekend, if anybody wants to go do the Eagle Rock Loop, 3-day hike
best
in
backpacking
Arkansas.
loop in Arkansas.
Backpacking.
And Bill Beach has posted a bike, a Cedar Ridge hike this coming Saturday. It's online on the SierraClub.org, DallasSierraClub.org website. And then there's an urban bike ride the following Sunday morning that Bill is leading, also online. So good stuff. To hike, bike, or backpack.
Thanks. So I'll just add one thing. I also I chaired what's called ICO, Inspiring Connections Outdoors. I thought we were going to have a few pictures there. You can see on the bottom here some of those pictures of the kids. The whole idea is to get kids that without us would not have the opportunity to do what we do, to get out off the cement and onto the dirt. Just get them away, give them a chance to breathe, give them a chance to learn about nature. Maybe if they're learning about it, they'll appreciate it, have fun, and then help protect it more when they're older. So we're adult volunteers, Sierra Club people, and if that's of interest, I apologize I didn't bring in the board, but the big picture board, but I do have a sign up here, and I'd love to talk to you. The volunteers we don't have like a certain number of hours that you have to volunteer. These are usually on Saturdays. We've been dormant because of COVID, but we're working on getting things back going again. Over the summer, we'll do the training for the volunteers, which is required, and then we'll start up again with the kids, hopefully in September. So if you're interested, please let me know. It's something that warms your heart, and a little bit of work, but a really, really big reward. So I encourage you to just talk with me if you have any questions. Thank you.
I understand that Kirk Miller would like to say a word. Come on up here, Kirk. About electronic recycling, is that right?
I hope I don't offend anybody with my trash talk, but I did want to tell you about a trash bash that the city of Richardson is having on Saturday, October 23. That's a week from this Saturday, and it's free. Free is good, and you can bring any electronics you want to get rid of, drop them off. They also have paper shredding. If you want to clean out closets, they'll accept donations for books or DVDs or anything like that. And so go to Richardson's website, and or just go to our website. There's a link to it. And like I said, it's free. So any electronics that you normally would have to pay to have recycled, you don't have to. And it's open to anybody. You don't have to live in Richardson. Anybody in the area, just show up on Saturday and give me your stuff.
Okay, now, for the main event of the evening, legendary Wendell Withrow is gonna come up and introduce himself and tell us what he's gonna talk about. Come on up, Wendell.
Thank you, Dan. A couple of very important housekeeping measures, especially because we have new people here tonight. First of all, we have our information boards down at the end of the room. And you might notice that something is missing from the end of the room, and that is our normal snacks and drinks. I think poor David, I just about did David in this afternoon when we found out there were not going to be snacks and drinks. But due to COVID, at least for a while, we would not be having snacks and drinks. We, of course, encourage you to bring your own water containers, drink containers, and if you want to bring snacks. But to make up for it, after the evening, I won't say move quickly, but the hungrier I get, the quicker the presentation will go. We're going to go to Fuzzy's Taco Shop, just over here on Midway Road, and they have really good salads, tacos, burritos, etc., and they are open till 10. They used to be open till 9, and we had to really hustle. But so once we finish here, if you want to go, you want to talk Sierra Club, you want to talk hiking, camping, anything, then we will be at Fuzzy's afterward. The other housekeeping measure is, you notice when you came in, we have some Dallas Sierra Club collared shirts and t-shirts. Those are $10 a piece. If you want to get a t-shirt and a book, then there'll be a special for $20, and you get another free calendar. So that is, I think, all of that. Tonight we're going to do something I think really special. We wanted to do something special to come back, back in person. One of the great places is Big Bend National Park. This will be a little bit of a presentation by committee. Liz Whelan helped put together all the slides from a lot of people who have been to Big Bend many, many times. But we have car camping stuff, we've got photography, we've got backpacking, we have Mark Stein, we have Arthur Kuhn. We've got several people here who have spent a lot of time in Big Bend. So I will be calling on those people, or they will need to be willing to just shout out some of the identity of the trails and some of this incredibly beautiful photography. At the end, Liz, do not forget, we want to give credit to as many of the photographers as we can, because there's some really amazing photos that we're going to come through. And do we have a clicker that's going to work?
Yes.
All right. As you can tell, after 2 years, we're getting used to Brookhaven again. All right. Our Texas Jewel. Most of you, unless you're new to Texas, Texas only has 2 national parks. They have a lot of national forests. They have national grasslands. They have wild and scenic rivers. They have a lot of things, but national parks, they only have 2. They have Big Bend National Park, and they have Guadalupe Peak National Park right up on the New Mexico border, just south of Carlsbad. So if you know anything about the history of how national parks are selected, starting really mostly in the early 1900s, it's a rigorous process. And so we are very fortunate to have Big Bend in the state of Texas. And it has lots of stuff, and we're going to get to that. We have natural resources. We have recreational opportunities. We have cultural history. We try to bring as much of that in. Our indigenous people, the Native Americans, were here obviously a long time before we were, as much as 10,000 years. But I just learned something, kind of getting ready for this. There was a period of 20 years in the 1800s where the Comanches and the Kiowas basically took over the whole area. If you know anything about the Comanches and the Kiowas, they had a wide range in the state of Texas. So they actually had a big part of the Big Bend story. Where the heck is it? It's a long way. A friend of mine was at a travel show a couple weeks ago, was talking to someone from Big Bend, and the person just said, "It's a 10-hour drive, it's a long way." And it's like, are you trying to get people to come or not come? whole issue. A lot of people think our national parks, that we have too many people coming to our national parks. We may visit about that a few times. But the good news is, it is a long ways away. It does not have the crowding of Grand Canyon, Yosemite, Yellowstone. Still, it has a good population of tourists, but it is so far away that keeps most of the casual tourists out. The 10 hours, in my humble opinion, I would not try to do it in one day. I really think you need to do it in 2 days. Get to the park about noon or later the second day. You do not want to arrive at Big Bend after dark. I'm sure a few of our people have done that. The very first time I went to Big Bend, we arrived at 2 or 3 in the morning, and the driver of the car I was in was driving too fast on the curves and kissed the end of a nice giant metal guardrail, which came right in the windshield about 1 inch from my face back in the late 1970s. So I came this close to not being here. So I always have a great respect for speed limits and being careful in the national parks. And we're going to get to some animal pictures. Any of you who've traveled in some of the wild areas know that the wild animals and all of the things we go there to see, they don't seem to understand that standing in the middle of the road or crossing the road might be dangerous. So we always want to, and another reason not to arrive there fatigued. That's just not a good way. You can come out through Fort Stockton. The best way that I'm recommending people is go through Fredericksburg. It's really a nice place to stop. Stop in Fredericksburg, see Enchanted Rock Natural Area, and then go on to Big Bend. Here's our map, and we're going to talk about a couple things on our map here. John, how are we doing on audio? Are we good?
We're good.
All right, and we all need to always thank John Gentry. All through the COVID fun, John has been doing our Zoom meetings and is placing them online, and we are glad to have him back in our meetings video, and we'll post tomorrow, the next day. This meeting will be posted to some of our people who didn't come because of the potential bad weather. This meeting will be posted. You can see that the main 3 cities that you're coming in are Marathon, Alpine, and Marfa, all very nice towns, kind of artsy-fartsy towns. And then after that, you are leaving civilization. I don't know if they still have gas at Panther Junction. So they still have some gas at Panther Junction, but don't think you're going to find a Walmart, after you leave Alpine, Marfa, or Marathon. Presidio, after you leave that, going down through Lajitas, you are truly in a wilderness area, and that's something that's important for all of us to understand about Big Bend. It's one of the few national parks that is what we call a wilderness park. It has limited development. You go to some parks and there's literally, Coke machine on every corner. A lot of creature comforts. Big Bend does not have all those creature comforts, which for us, like Mark Stein and the rest of the backpackers here, they like it that way. They don't want it to have all the creature comforts. That's why they're there. As far as the general topography of what you're dealing with, is Big Bend is that sort of the middle of the Chihuahuan Desert. Street stretches down into Mexico. You can see that the United States really only has three or four major desert areas, and Big Bend is one of them. So that's, when you see the photographs, you'll say, that will make sense to you. The fun part of what we're going to see tonight is that as we go up in elevation, the world changes, and it changes in a very good way. Okay, let's see what Liz has given us. Tons of stuff. Again, you look at it, you say it's desert, there's nothing there, but for those of us who love deserts, you'll see that actually everything is there. The ranchers were there, wax camps, they made, there's called a wax plant, mining operations during World War I and World War II. They were mining for mercury, ranches, there were some trading posts. The cavalry came down, I'm sure, to try to deal with the Comanches and the Kiowas. You had to be pretty tough to live out here. Liz has put us some great photos in here of some of the ranches, and I suspect more than a few outlaws also made their hiding place down in Big Bend. Here's one of their little lean-tos, nice condo in the sand. 2 or 3 main ranch families live down there. Speak to me.
The little house is from one of the farms that was along the river.
That one was?
Farming along the river at one time.
Yeah, and we're going to have several pictures of the Rio Grande, and you're going to say, that's not much of a river. Well, for a variety of reasons, it's not much of a river, and that's a real problem because the water, many years, the water's not making it down to the Gulf of Mexico. It's literally drying up before it gets through Brownsville. Now, the last 10 years, they've been working really hard to get those flows going because that's part of the ecosystem. You've got to have water, you have to have fresh water coming down to meet the salt water, to get your estuaries, for all of the bird life and the wildlife in general.
Wendell, before you go on.
Yes.
The fun part, if you notice, if you've been there, the fork in the background is mule ears.
See mule ears up at the top, and there's
That's
the mule there.
Mule ears in
Yeah.
the front. I just think
I took it.
I tried to be humorous.
You did good, Liz. It took me a couple times through it, and I said, I think that's the mule ears right there in the back.
That's a hard working mule.
There you go. Yeah, that.
That's us when we backpack. No, I'm kidding.
That's it. Yeah, one of the ranch houses out there. But back to your comment, Arthur. Yeah, I mean, there over the years there has been farming attempts because that is the only water within a long way. But as far as I know, except for commercial farming, much further up the Rio Grande, I think the farming days are over. Certainly in this part of the country. There it is. Becoming a national park. I alluded to that earlier. I was telling you that it's not easy to become a national park. It started as a state park, as did Yosemite in California, and between 34 and 42, the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, came in and gave us a lot of what we call the bones, gave us the bones of the park, as they did many other parks. My uncle was a member of the CCC. He was stationed up in Idaho, but basically picked shovels, rakes, didn't have a dump truck.
One dump truck.
One dump truck. I mean, I'm telling you, in CCC parlance, that's a big deal to have a dump truck. And they also worked in our state parks. Always when you are at any of these parks, state parks, national parks, when you see really beautiful woodwork that has a little stonework that has a little age to it, it's almost always going to be some CCC work. And we officially became a national park in 1944. There's the CCC camp. For those of you who don't know the story, I tell you what I find to be almost the most interesting part of the story, other than the incredible hard work. A lot of the people that came to the CCC were young men who had basically it was during the Depression, they had no opportunities at all, and their families were destitute, and many of them had never seen a doctor. And so when they got to the CCC camp where they actually had doctors and dentists, that was a big deal. Many of them, even though the work was backbreaking, actually got healthier by being at the CCC camp. And the other thing, I think we have one more CCC picture or two more. Yeah, you can see the roadway. I see a pickup truck. So this is probably later. This is probably late 30s, even early 40s, that they actually would have a pickup truck. Because you can imagine after 41, when the World War II starts, there's no gasoline. So this probably is right in that time period before Pearl Harbor. But what you got paid, a CCC member got paid $25 a month. $25 a month. The worker got to keep $5 a month. $5 a month is all they got to keep. Now, of course, hamburgers were a nickel, and there wouldn't be exactly a McDonald's on the corner here. They would be certainly cooking their own food and making their own food. They got to keep $5, and $20 was sent home to their family to help their family back, no matter where they came from, in small town America or other places or rural America. That helped their families make it, and they got $5 and was considered a big deal, especially because where they came from, they probably had no job. That one I'm pretty sure is a trail work. So they not only did roads, they also did some of the trail work. So when you're in Big Bend and many of the other parks and you see you know, basically out at the side of a mountain, and they would have, you know, put the little rock walls to keep it from sliding down. Again, almost always going to be CCC work. Love this picture. Thank you, Liz. I don't know where you got this picture, but this is a great, great picture. This is an aerial view of the Chisos Basin. I consider it sort of the heart of Big Bend, although it's not the only heart. It has wonderful places. We'll kind of talk about the major areas, but you can see right here where you see buildings, you see red roofs. That is, they have a small motel, and then they have, I believe they're called the Roosevelt cabins, or they have some cabins there that you can rent. The small motel, probably 20, 30 rooms, has a small restaurant. And believe me, after you've been backpacking, or as what happened to me the last time I was there, big rainstorm, there was going to be no cooking outside of any kind. A breakfast at the little lodge is like an amazing treat. So you can see that's in the center, and then the road goes down and starts heading back there. Those are the campground. Those are the tent camping areas and the excuse me, and the trailer, the RV slots. Being a tent camper, most of the people here know that, you have to go through the RV area, but when you get back there, there's about 30 really, really wonderful tent camping spots, and I think we got some good shots of that. Liz, from this picture, where's the group site? Is it up closer to?
In the middle, at the top.
Right there?
Yeah,
Right there.
further.
Further up.
Okay. Those are all the individual campgrounds, but certainly when Sierra Club is there, we tried, is that reservable?
It's already reserved for next
Already
February.
reserved.
We already have it for next February.
Yep.
And we'll talk about February here in just a minute. But that's the group site that Sierra Club tries to get and for their trips. But again, you can just see, so you can look at the bowl, you can see the Chisos Basin, and one of its best attributes is it's higher up in elevation, so when it's a nice toasty 95 plus humidity down by the river, it's going to be 10 to 15 degrees cooler up there. You want to stay in the lodge, you're not a camper, be sure to get those reservations, 6 to 12 months in advance. There's so
12
few,
months.
12 months at least.
12 months minus 1 minute.
Yeah, you got to be on. You got to be on the
1
phone.
minute amp, got to be on the phone.
Okay.
12 months in advance.
Yeah, because there's not, Big Bend is getting more popular. What's that, George?
Any time of the year.
Yeah,
12
it's,
months in advance.
and so we go in February for a variety of reasons, but when you are there in the winter, you will be there with several thousand of your closest friends who are in the bird watching business. It is a wonderful place for bird watching. I think you have that on a slide here somewhere. So desert, forest. You wouldn't think there are forests. Mountains, you've already seen. The river, we've seen the river. Waterfalls and pools. International Dark Sky Park, it is one of the darkest places in Texas, in this part of the country. And as you may know, McDonald Observatory is a couple hundred miles straight north. And the reason it's there is that is a dark part of Texas. 800,000 acres, I hope that's big enough for you. 150 miles of trails. That's a lot of trails, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, there's a lot of off-trail stuff too.
Yeah, a lot of off trails.
Exactly, that's just the trails.
Yeah, this is a wilderness park. Again, there's other wonderful national parks that have wilderness, of course, but this is a wilderness park. 1,800 along the river, up to 7,800 feet. Got a lot of elevation change. Temperature -3 to 117. I think I was there on 117 day. All right, now into the park we go. There's several places in the United States that have, or actually, there's only a few places in the United States that get this type of vista. For me, when I see the vista, you can take a picture of it, but when you're standing there, you literally, it's so vast, you almost can't believe what you're looking at. So I believe that's heading down from Panther Junction, probably, heading down to the turn. Persimmon Gap, yeah. So you've left the first visitor center and you're heading down to to where you have 3 different ways you can go. One is up into Chisos, left is Rio Grande Valley, and the right is Castellon.
The landmass there in the center of that picture is the Chisos Mountains, the high part.
That's it.
So you're actually looking out. I don't know if you heard Mark say that, that landmass, that's Chisos Basin looking straight at it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so you're coming down from the north, either Marathon or, would that be Marathon or Alpine? Whatever, you're going straight in from Marathon, and you literally see the Chisos Mountain where we just saw the aerial photograph of the, where the little hotel is. There's one of the cabins, again, very hard to get.
So these are your options of where to sleep.
Yeah, options of where to sleep. One is, as George says, 364 days and 23 hours and minutes.
Between 8 and 8:05 a.m.
Yeah,
when you're in advance.
you gotta be on the phone. But don't get, I will tell you, a lot of these places do, even, Grand Canyon, all these places, they do get cancellations. But you better be calling the day before and before you go heading down there, because you don't go down there just depending on a cancellation. It's just not big enough. This is one of the tent camping sites. You can see they're nice, they're covered, they're pretty big. Most of them will hold 2 or 3 tents. I think the max is 8 people. And is this one of our campsites? Liz, do you know? Is this a Sierra Club campsite? Or is that, I didn't recognize the people, but
It's not our people, but it was a good shot, so I took it.
yeah, it's more than a good shot. It's just way too tidy.
Yeah.
But it's just way too tight. Not that Sierra Club people aren't tidy. What's that, Liz?
It is a group site, well, no, it's just, there's some.
No, that's an individual
It's
site.
a regular individual site. Some
Yeah.
are spread out more than others.
Yeah.
I just like.
Yeah, that's in the Chisos.
Yeah, it's definitely in the Chisos. It's a tent camping area.
Yeah.
I don't see the number on it, but you can see, you can sort of set up home there and stay for several
Have a
days.
party in that tent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could put quite a party in there.
Some of these tents are on the opposite side of the table as the road, which is what's nice, because they're back in.
Yeah, and the bathrooms are just on this side where I'm standing, important in many ways. This is one of their bear boxes. We're going to talk a little bit about animals and fun stuff in a few minutes. But whenever you hear people talking about a bear box, that's actually quite a fancy one. It's been painted and looks real nice. But when you finish cooking at the end of the night, you don't just leave your dirty pots and pans out on the table, because if you do, you'll get some nice nocturnal visitors that will be there to help you clean up your site. So, and if you leave the food itself out, I guarantee you it's gone.
You can also get a visit from the ranger who will give you
Park
a
ranger.
$50 fine.
Little citation for not using the bear box? Excellent, good, that's the way it should
Thank you,
be.
though, for your visit.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where you put your food, or in the trunk of your car. As you well know, in Yosemite, you don't put it in the back seat of your car, because the bears at Yosemite are smart enough, they literally will bash your window out and take your ice chest out of the back seat and drag it out.
And these bear boxes are also at your campsites up in the backcountry, so.
Okay, so they have some in the back countries?
Yeah, in the up
So-
in the Chisos, so you are required to put your things in there. Lip balm, anything with the smell
Yeah.
goes in there.
Yeah, yeah. You don't go to bed in your tent with a Snickers bar in your pocket. But we'll come back to that one. All right. Okay, now Liz, tell me about this. This is obviously a crowded site. I see.
Well, this is just backcountry, so this is out at Chisos. and
Okay.
People have got permits to go off, this one here, is it?
That's not one of our
Maybe,
groups,
no,
is
it's
it?
one of mine, because the groups, it's a slide I pulled from somewhere, because there are too many people there, because we don't put that many people in one area.
Bingo. That's the point, and that's
They're actually probably breaking the rules with that.
yeah. And do they have? Are the spots? Do you have to reserve a particular area where you're going to camp?
Yeah, and everything in the Chisos Basins is now reservation only.
Yep.
They open 6 months in advance. If you're going on a busy weekend, you need reservations.
Yeah, and don't just think you can show up, yeah, and grab your backpack and a tent and just go out into the wild. The park rangers will frown on that. There are some areas that are pretty wide and expansive, but you can't do it without permission. You've either got to have a site or you've got to have, talk to the ranger about where you can do that.
And Wendell, the interesting thing
Sorry.
about having it all permitted now is it makes it less crowded back there.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of no-shows. And, if you get a little bit of bad weather or something like that, there'll be fewer people in the backcountry than before it was strictly reservation only.
Right, and that's at least for a while, that was a controversy. How dare you tell people they have to have reservations, to camp in the wild, or how dare you, like right now, starting in Zion National Park, starting like right now, you have to have a reservation to go up Angel's Landing, which is one of the most popular trails, beautiful trails in the entire world. But there are so many people there, it was becoming dangerous, and it was ruining the
You now have
experience.
a reservation just to go in the front
You
gate
absolutely do.
of Arches.
Right, Arches, Zion, I don't think Yosemite's quite there yet. Grand Canyon's not there yet, but there are parks. And the reason they're doing it is there's just not enough parking spaces in some of these parks. And you just have too many people, and you've probably heard the term, we are loving our parks to death. And so, but now, I think pretty much everybody understands that to keep the experience of our national parks and some of our state parks. You may not know that. Enchanted Rock, right outside of Austin and San Antonio, you have to have a reservation, not just to camp. You've got to have a reservation to get in the front door. Now, that's on Saturday, Sunday. If you go there on a Wednesday morning, you probably can walk right in. Just, it's just a fact. There are so many people, people writing these damn guidebooks. People write these guidebooks, and everybody wants to go out and see the beauty, and there's just too many of them. All right, we'll keep moving to some pretty pictures here.
A sad thing about the reservation system, though, is that a reservation costs you $10 for a campsite in the Jesus Mountains for a night. If you have a senior pass, or I think some other passes, it's $5 a night. So what happens is people book months in advance. They decide at some time before then, oh, I'm not going to go, the weather's bad, just don't want to do it. And all they can get back from canceling the reservation is $5. So people don't cancel, and the site sits vacant.
Yeah, no shows are a real problem.
I think the problem is they're not charging enough, or they should charge
They need a deposit.
A cancellation, no-show fee?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably coming in some of these parks, because if you're gonna take the time to make a reservation, whether it's getting in the front door reservation, campsite reservation, whatever it is, it's gonna have to be like a hotel. Show, you're gonna pay, a one-night fee.
It makes it very
I've been
difficult for
to
groups like the
the
Sierra.
campground in the Chisos when every single site was reserved and they were all half empty.
Yeah, no, it's a problem, and that's hopefully something they're going to fix. All right, this is, again, Liz is saying, these are the slides that tell you what you can do.
This was just a reminder that there's the little office in the Chisos, and to go check in and get your permit.
Yeah, they're in the visitor center, but usually it's a separate little section for your wilderness
You don't
permit.
Panther Junction, but you can go up.
And also, that's where you're gonna find the real rangers. There's a whole, you have a lot of volunteers that are answering the questions of where's the bathroom and where's the Coke machine. But if you want to talk to the real rangers about the backcountry, you go to the wilderness permit office. All right, let's do some pretty pictures. Rain, I told you we'd have sunshine in 30 minutes. Texas weather is so wonderful.
Well, this is what to check at the office.
Yeah, when you're talking, that's the other thing, especially if you've been gone a few days and you haven't sat there and watched the local weather, or the local weather is out of Midland, Odessa, and they don't really care about what's going to happen in Big Bend. You obviously check the weather, but when I saw this, Liz, I remembered one great story about our friend Bill Greer, who was one of our great outings leaders and outings participants, lives up in Colorado now. Bill Greer, I had some pictures of Big Bend in the rain, so showing the rain kind of running across the road. He looked at me with this quizzical look. He goes, "Rain?" He goes, "Wendell, I've never seen it rain there." But it does rain there. It does. But Bill had never seen it, and he was quite amazed that I saw rain. But even though it's a desert, and many of you know the desert has what's called the monsoon season, be extremely aware anywhere from mid-June through September, early September, whether you're in Texas, whether you're up in New Mexico, Utah, Arizona. You do not want to be caught unaware in a wash in a sudden thunderstorm. But the beauty of this picture is really is really a good shot. Ah, there's some. Is that you, Mr. Gouldy? Is that you, Dick?
Yeah.
I thought it was Dick Gouldy in the red, and showing that it does rain there. And rain it just happens, and you learn to deal with it. Open fires, I suspect, are not allowed at all, are they, anywhere in Big Bend?
No.
Okay, so pretty much everywhere in the country, for obvious reasons, you can't use open fire, so you need to have your propane tank, small propane stove, or some of the other stoves. That's the other good thing about car camping is most car camping have the shelter. You know, have the shelter so you can still have your stove. But in addition to rain, it does snow. This is one of y'all's trips, isn't it? This is a Sierra Club trip?
These pictures were, somebody had submitted them, and it was, I believe, a day and a half after the trip had left.
Okay. Yeah, it's you can get some serious snow
And
in
these are
Big
just to
Bend.
remind people that it's,
Yeah.
you have to seriously watch the weather.
Yes, you do.
That is,
That-
however, fairly rare.
yeah, it's pretty rare, but
It's
this
rare.
was a nice snowstorm.
As a reminder that.
Yeah, that's 12 inches of snow.
What is the temperature during February on
We've got our February experts right here. What do you think the average?
Everywhere we typically go, it'll be reliably anywhere from 20 degrees to 80 degrees.
Yeah,
Reliable.
Very reliable.
Very reliable.
Somewhere in that range.
and it's also not. I mean, it's still typical Texas. You know,
And it can occasionally go down to like 10 and up to 90, but pretty reliably within 20 days.
yeah, you would want to bring your winter. You would want to bring your winter sleeping bag, but also bring a really good hat and sunscreen. I think you're covered there. But just a great shot. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Do you remember which photographer that was, Liz?
I think there's one named Tom McKenna, I think it might be.
This
his.
is Tom's? Okay. Nothing, and that's the other thing for all of you parkaholics in here, like me. Going to the parks in the off-season, frankly, is the only way to go.
Yeah.
You know, it's the only way to go. And I just got back from Zion, and in Zion it was like 20s at night, 50s in the day, but you can still see snow at the top. We went up to Bryce Canyon in Utah, and it looked like this, blowing snow, but then the sun came out, and it was, it changes the photography, but most importantly, it changes the number of people that are there. It just, again, try not to go on the weekends, try to go off-season, and you'll find a whole different park. Okay, off we go, hiking to the Chisos Mountains, the backcountry along the Rio Grande, and this is
That's our group campsite.
this is the group site. Okay, so the group site does have a
Yeah.
shelter.
A longer shelter and more table space and more bear boxes
Yeah.
and just space.
So this is in the Chisos Basin, not far from the ranger station.
And we have that one and one next to it reserved for
Uh-huh.
February.
This comes February 2023.
Yeah.
Cool. Get in early. I used to say this whenever I do an outings presentation or outings announcement here. I'd say, better get your reservations in because the Dallas Sierra Club outings are legendary and they fill up. All right, just some really great shots, and you may have to help me on some of the locations. I don't think this is this
The Laguna, I think it's going up,
Good man, great.
Laguna Madre Trail?
Laguna-
Possibly.
Laguna Meta
I
or
think-
the
I
boot side.
think
It's actually
it's-
the boot side.
I thought this was on the window trail, actually.
Is this,
I think-
I don't know about that. But whatever, there's only 150 miles, so if any of you are worried that you're not gonna have enough variety, there's only 150 miles.
These are first the Chisos area and then the backcountry area.
Then we move into the backcountry.
Flip faster. Yeah, just keep
For you,
Casa Grande,
Casa Grande.
volcanic core.
Yeah, for those of you fledgling photographers, get up early and be ready at sunset. That's when your best photos are going to be taken. This is, what's the name of the canyon? I've already,
Booth Canyon.
Booth Canyon, is this Booth Canyon, we think?
Booth.
All right, and it's something you'll notice when you go to Guadalupe Peak National Park, very similar desert-like, but as you move up in elevation and you get away from the cars and the people, you suddenly get in, you know, these, especially in the fall, really nice fall colors. So you don't think that's going to be at Big Bend, but it certainly is.
Well, there's a spring there, so there's water. and
Little
they-
water,
they
so you got
brought in
water
some
for the
angels.
trees, and then you get the change of seasons
So,
in the fall.
you're gonna have to go through them faster, but
I'll get moving here in a minute.
they'll work.
Running water. Looks like it may came from a little bit of a snow melt. You know, I don't think there's any year-round live water, or very little in Big Bend, but certainly after a big rain or snow melt, you know, you're going to
It's
have
the river.
you're going to have some water. You see the trail. If you look at the trail, upper left-hand picture, upper left-hand corner of the picture, you'll see the rock work. Probably looks very CCC-like.
And that's coming out Booth. There was a time one time that I was there that you couldn't get across that because the water was so.
Because the water was deep.
It was coming down so hard.
Yeah, this is not Disneyland, not Disney World. This is, you have to take proper precautions, which is why you go with the Dallas Sierra Club or other experienced outings leaders. You want to have a good time. If you have to be airlifted out or carried out or whatever, you're going to have a bad time and you're not going to want to do it again. So you go with experienced leaders that will hopefully help you have a good time and not have something bad happen. Clouds down in,
And that's the
Boot
Boot on the
camps.
upper right.
what's that?
The
On the
boot
right
is on the
edge,
upper
the
right.
formation is an upside down boot.
Oh, I see, yeah, I'm
That's
sorry,
Boot.
there's the boot,
That's
yeah.
along the Boot Trail,
And I'll tell you a quick picture, I think we have a couple of good pictures of clouds.
that was just a really cool morning, so.
Yeah, so you can tell you're up in elevation, you're gonna get some clouds.
What was fun is these guys were down below that you couldn't see, but they couldn't see up where we were, and we couldn't see down where they were
Yeah.
in other trips.
Yeah, you're separated by what you think is, a lot, but you're not. One nice picture, let's go back. I want to tell you one quick cloud picture. Can't even talk. One quick cloud story. One year I was coming in the east entrance of the Grand Canyon, which if you're going to the Grand Canyon on the south rim, don't come up from Tucson from the south because you'll be in line with about 100 cars. It's not pretty. Come in through the east. And one year I came in through the east and there was a big chalkboard at the entrance station that said, "Clouds in the canyon." I was like, what do they think people are going to do? Say we can't see the Grand Canyon, they're going to turn around and leave? And I guess probably they are. There may be some people who don't want to pay their $35 if there's clouds. But you can see clouds in the canyon is actually one of the best times to be at Big Bend or the Grand Canyon or any other place. It really gives you a different perspective on where you are. And if they turned around and left, well, that's probably okay too. Which photographer? We got several of these really super high
Yeah,
quality photos.
Tom, like, a lot of them are Tom.
Tom, what's his last name?
I think McKenna.
McKenna, Tom McKenna.
Got a
Yeah, Tom
combination.
knows what he's doing.
And you see the person toward the right-hand side?
Oh yeah, standing on the little
I
high
had to point
property.
it out because he blends in, yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about the haze, we'll talk about the color of the sun. Pretty cool picture. Really, really good picture. Sunset, again, you're a fledgling photographer, really work with sunrise and sunset.
So if you do these are all from the south.
It is a vast, wild place. And there's Liz.
I had to throw in one just for.
Good. Well, for those of you who don't know Liz, Liz is an absolute beast kick butt backpacker. She's done 7, 8, 9 days by herself up in the Canadian boundary wilderness areas. Isle Royal. She is quite the backpacker.
I'm slow, but I get there.
It ain't a race, people. That's the other thing. Try, when we're day hiking, backpacking, it's not a race.
So this is all the Windows Trail.
Yeah, this is the Windows Trail heading down, and the Windows Trail is actually a really cool trail. One reason is it leaves straight from your campground. You can pick it up straight from your campground.
But don't do it when it's raining.
No.
Don't do it when it's raining, and if it's a little wet, don't get too close to the edge. It is slicker than glass.
And a long way down.
And it's a long way down. That would be your last. But if you're gonna go, hey, that's the way to go.
There's no boundary telling you that you're allowed to get.
No, that's right. That's
You're just there.
yeah, exactly. That again, it's not Disney World, it's not Disneyland. There are some parks that, at least in certain areas, have railings and things to protect you from, doing stupid stuff. But stupid people, somebody just died in the Grand Canyon not too long ago, and they were, in their little group, they were out climbing up places they weren't supposed to be climbing.
And this trail, a lot of people don't see, but this, a lot of people get to the window and then turn around and go back. This is if you keep going and climb up and around that right side of that hill, that mountain.
Yeah, so that's similar to the view you
That's what we
see through
usually
the.
do. So this is from up there, we're gonna
Okay.
go around there and then down to the next pictures.
That's the other reason to go with experienced leaders. They take you to places that the average hiker is not going to see. Okay, now this is a picture from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Tell me where this is, somebody. Mark,
This
Liz.
is
This is
Cattail
Cattail
Falls.
Falls.
And one October, we were lucky enough to be there after it had rained 3 inches,
Oh,
which is
yes.
about half of the whole year's rain. And the Boot Canyon that you saw earlier was just frothy water. This is the main outlet for this streams that drain the Chisos Basin.
Yeah, they when you're at Zion, and it's desert-like too. It doesn't rain very often, but when it's starting to rain, and you can have some very serious flash floods in Zion Canyon. But they say all the tourists run in. All the tourists run in, to get out of the rain. But all the park rangers and the park employees, they run out because they want to see the water coming over the edge. It's a matter of perspective. It's a matter of what how you look at nature. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
I hadn't planned to be there that day when it was raining, but we heard people way up in the Chisos Basin talking about how much water was going over Cattail Falls, so we switched plans and
You were flexible and moved up to see that. That's an amazing picture. Little Snow Lost Mine Trail. If my memory serves right, that's actually right off the main road, isn't it?
Yep.
The road that's coming in to
Yep.
Chisos Base to the lodge area, and it's got a little elevation change. It's not an easy trail.
This picture first week in March one year, and it snowed about 2 inches in the Chisos Basin. Meanwhile, it didn't snow in anything at the much lower elevations. But this was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the more famous trails.
It's a really neat trail, but there are very few places to park. So you have.
Yeah,
to,
you're probably gonna have to walk down to it from
Yeah, you kind
the
of.
campground or something.
Yeah.
There ain't no Ubers to take you there.
Yep.
All right. Just some really nice long shots of the.
That's from up there, right there.
Yeah, that's coming back down.
Right down from,
Yeah.
yeah.
On which trail?
The
Lost
St. Lost
Mine.
Mine.
On Lost Mine, that's coming back down. Okay.
Now that's on the Rio Grande. That's the trail up from the Rio Grande Village.
Now we're getting to the water.
Okay. So Rio Grande Village is down right at the river level. It's probably, I'm gonna say it's probably the center of bird watching. So during the winter, you're gonna be there with 300 RVs, but they're nice people. But there's some good tent camping spots down there too. That's an Octillo or Octillo.
Ocotillo.
Octillo.
Ocotillo.
Ocotillo.
It has
And
beautiful red blossoms on the ends and
little bitty flowers.
March.
Yeah, it's a very nice plant, very nice desert plant.
And it can be made into fences if you have nothing else to make a fence with.
Yeah, certainly in the early years, they had to be very creative. They couldn't go to the local Home Depot and, pick up fence panels.
Okay, sorry, I got a couple out of order.
That's all right. There's no particular order. It's just a great park. And the downside of a slideshow is you can't get the feeling of the vastness. You can't smell it. You can't hear the wind. These are places that you need to visit. But definitely Big Bend is on a lot of people's bucket list, but they don't go for a variety of reasons. All right, how are we doing on time? Oh, we're good shape. 8:05. I want to tell one quick story. This is when I was there in 2008 doing some research for my little book, and this is actually right there on the first part of the Windows Trail. And we had just been talking to the ranger the day before, and they said, well, the bears were out, very active in the Chisos area, and of course I see the lion warning sign, and that will get your attention because, as you well know, mountain lions are been known to harvest a few joggers, especially in California, because they look like antelope or deer or other prey, and these are very good hunters. And so it will get your attention. We'll go forward, then we'll come back one. I think we will. Liz, tell me about this photo. Do you know who took this?
I don't. It was off of Facebook, but I did it because I've seen them a couple of times on the night hikes. So I wanted a picture, but I couldn't get a picture of them then, so I pulled this a couple of years ago.
Yeah, you were taking a selfie with the mountain lion. No, probably not a good idea. I'll give you the very short version of my story of the mountain lions. In Big Bend, in the Kent camping area, I'm there with my young protege, Nick, who probably was 18 or 19 at the time, and Nick's parents were nice enough to say, yeah, you go ahead and go with this crazy parkaholic guy who's trying to write a book. And so basically I was in charge of safety, making sure I returned Nick, to his little family. And so we've tented for the night. We have two tents right next to each other in the tent camping area. And a typical, 19-year-old after hiking all day, he's asleep in like 7 seconds. And I was pretty tired, but I wasn't quite asleep yet. And suddenly I heard outside my tent, just a little pads. Something was in the campground. And of course there are bears. Bears usually do a little bit of snorting. You can tell that it's a bear. But certainly mountain lions are absolutely stealthy in their silence. And I start going through my checklist. Okay, no Snickers bar, no tube of toothpaste, no anything that might attract unwanted attention in my tent. And it gets closer and closer and closer, and then it stops, literally right outside my tent fly. And needless to say, I am breathing very quietly. I'm not moving. And so I pull open the zipper just as quietly as I could to look out. And luckily it was one of those nights where the moon is going right across the Chisos Basin with clouds. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous night. And I look out thinking, this might be the end, but if you're going to go, let's go like this. I look out, and it was the largest, most ferocious looking skunk I had ever seen. And of course, what did I do when I heard and saw that skunk was about 1 or 2 feet from my face? I continued to be the most quiet, breathing so slowly. I slunk to the back of my tent and just prayed for that skunk to keep on going. And it did. So that was my near encounter with a mountain lion, but it turned out to be a skunk. And we've had actual whole programs. Are we going back to Beavers Bend? Do we know this fall yet?
No, we're going to Colorado Bend State Park.
Are we? Okay. Well, Colorado Bend,
Yep.
or if we go to Beavers Bend in Oklahoma, Arthur and I and everybody, we do a whole program on fun stories while camping. All right, let's get moving here.
Yeah, we need to.
We need to move on. You must be getting hungry, Liz.
No, I just know how many pictures are there.
No, we're okay. No, we're good.
There's
Great,
Arthur.
some great backpacking shots.
Arthur directing them.
Yeah, and these are gonna be day hikers. I started to bring my backpack tonight, but I just had too much going on. But those are they could be staying over one night. But you can see by the size of their pack, they're probably out for a day hike. Just down through the flats. That's mule ears in the back, right?
Yep.
A very famous rock formation. Getting a few clouds, a little bit of rain.
Packing up.
Packing up, heading out. Is he wearing a trash bag?
No.
No. Wait. I'm getting too.
That's your poncho.
Is that what it is? I'm getting too blind in my old age. More water in the canyon. Anybody know which canyon that is? Martin, do you recognize that one?
Probably Boot Canyon, if that's a
Maybe
creek on it.
Boot Canyon.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's.
That's the Rio Grande.
Yeah, that's not.
Oh, is it? Okay, that's the Rio Grande. Well, again, the Rio Grande is not the Rio Grande we would hope that it would be.
There's the tunnel.
Just a nice hike along there, just so you'll know, whenever you see water holes like that, that doesn't mean you go jump in and try to swim. The wildlife need that water more than you do, unless you are in total extremis. I would never drink any of that water, even if you purified it, but that water's for the animals, not for two-legged animals. Just some nice rocks, nice trails. If you are a geologist, if you're not only a parkaholic, but a geology-aholic, that's a word, this is a wonderful place. This is similar to Grand Canyon, Bryce, Zion, several of our national parks. That the history of the earth is laid bare. It's nearly all limestone. So do we have a dinosaur? Do we have a dinosaur picture in here, or do we just talk about it?
Dinosaur, no.
Yeah, there's, they found some incredible huge dinosaur bones as you come in around Panther Junction, and they were so big they had to be lifted out with helicopters. And I believe those are in display. Those should be on display somewhere in the park
They
now.
built a structure, yeah.
Has a little bit of an Antelope Canyon look. Is that on the Windows Trail, that
No.
leaning rock?
No.
It's not?
That's balanced rock.
Balanced rock, but I couldn't remember which trail it was on.
It's got its own trail.
Nice little night shot. You can see, you may recognize the Milky Way on the behind there. Which photographer would that be?
The name's right there.
Professional.
Yeah.
Mitchell.
Right. So we're benefiting from their incredible photography. Now we're back down near what's called Castellon. You know, you have Chisos in the middle. Far left, you have Rio Grande Village. And then on the right, you have a little area called Castellon. They have a park ranger, a little store there. And you drive about 8 miles up. That's Santa Elena Canyon, about 1,000 foot straight up and down on both sides. Because the water's so low, you literally can walk right up to the edge of Santa Elena Canyon. I think we're going to get to David's picture here in just a second. There's actually quite a bit of water on that one. Yeah, you see the raft trip down, the rafters down at the bottom.
I had another one that actually somebody was walking down the middle of
The Rio Grande.
about knee deep.
Yeah, but you know, is it the Concho? The Concho River is its main tributary, and that's in Mexico. And of course, Mexico dammed it all up for their, growing food. And you say, well, how could they do that? Well, that's what America does. That's we dam up all so that there's no water that runs to Mexico. So, water is our next oil, so to speak. You know, whoever controls the water will control a lot of stuff. But sometimes they get good rain, and sometimes they have a good flow. Couldn't tell where this was. It's further down. It's further down the Rio Grande.
That's on the trail that goes to Hot Springs from
Okay.
Rio Grande Village.
All right, we're going to get to that's down by Rio Grande Village. Oh, and your handout, of course you can't see it because it's dark.
Hot Springs.
Your handout has a little map of Big Bend. Hot Springs, 105 degrees,
Water temperature.
which I would imagine would really feel good in one of the snowstorm years. I don't think in the summer, I don't think it's
And
high
notice
on
the
my list.
burrows over on the Mexico side?
Yeah, they are, I see that.
And the Mexicans.
They're
Yeah,
doing-
you're on the
yeah,
US side here looking over at Mexico.
They're relaxing, so.
Another good shot of the river.
It's interesting because in February, those hot springs come in, the water comes in at 105 degrees. The water flowing down the Rio Grande is much colder.
Yeah, that-
Say 60, 70 in that range. So people jump over the edge of the hot springs and try and find the Goldilocks spot where it's just right.
Yeah, that, you can get a little bit of a polar bear, the polar bear club there.
And that's up above the Rio Grande Village also.
Oh, is it?
That's the
Okay.
same trail.
The trail
Same
going,
trail.
All right.
That's an Uber.
Yeah.
There's your Big Bend Uber, and I believe that is David Griggs, our political chair, on the little burro or donkey. And where are you going, David?
Well, when you cross over to Boquillas, you ride the little boat, and then that's where you get your burro, and you ride into town. And there's a guide that's with you, and of course, they stay with you the whole time. And certainly would love to have a tip when you finish with them. But they will escort you throughout the town. So it's a really neat experience. I hope you've got some pictures of there you go.
Whatever pictures you gave Liz, yeah, there's some little shopping opportunities, and most importantly, if you're there in the summer, there's a little restaurant.
There's 2 restaurants.
So it's a megapolis now. But that you're crossing into Mexico, but after 9/11, for several years, all of those crossings were totally, shut off with all these signs that said, do not cross over into Mexico. You won't be allowed back. Do not buy anything from anyone. You're violating some federal law. It was, part of our national paranoia. But it is now reopened where you can go back and forth over to Boquillas. So that's a good thing. It's a tradition.
Passport.
What's that?
Gotta have your
Yeah, I'd
passport.
take your passport. I wouldn't just
Well, your
count on it.
passport card will work, and they have a nice new border crossing station now.
Oh, really? At Boquillas?
At Boquillas,
Boquillas.
yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah. it's
All right,
really
well,
neat.
that's a
And
good
these
thing.
people need your dollars.
Sure, yeah,
So
they-
go and spend the 2 or 3 hours over there
Yeah.
and ride the mule, the burro. It's a fun experience to do.
Yeah, but again, it was tradition for decades and decades until they shut the border off.
Oh, go back one.
There we go. 450 bird species, that's a lot. 75 mammals, 1,200 plant species. Yeah, it's a big deal, especially in the winter.
And some plants that are nowhere else.
Yeah, nowhere else plants. It is truly a wilderness park.
So you can just look through.
And the Gouldies, are y'all our bird watching experts? Would you like to chime in if you recognize any of these? Because some of these I've never seen.
It's a peroxylid. Peroxylid.
Peroxylid, yes, I see those all the time in my backyard. I think that's the head of a snake.
Coach whip snake.
Coach whipped snake.
That's about how I felt. I had a close encounter with one time. They're not poisonous, but they tend to bite.
Yeah, they would scare you. Now this, I'm pretty sure, is a diamondback. Wouldn't
Yeah,
this
that-
be a
that one you
diamondback?
don't want
And we actually do a whole presentation on how to not be scared of critters in the wild. The general rule I tell all my people is just watch where you step and watch where you stick your hands. They're not out looking for you. They're not mountain lions. They're not going to harvest you. They're not going to chase you down the trail. So just don't step on them and don't jack with them. They've done studies. The people that get snake bites are almost always trying to mess with them with sticks or whatever. So if you don't do that, they'll leave you alone. Tarantula, can you see the tarantula right in the middle? I've always thought they were poisonous and all that. Apparently they are harmless. They are just really scary looking, but they're harmless, and you always see them running across the road, and some people probably try to run over them, but don't. They are harmless. They are part of the ecosystem, and there'll be whole colonies of them. Probably, is this the one that's like a skink or something?
Just ate something.
Not sure.
My favorite, javelinas, also 95% harmless. If you see a mother with its babies, don't go try to take a selfie with them. They're like bison. Don't do that.
It'll charge.
You know, they will charge you, but generally javelinas are totally harmless. They are not the big giant hogs that we are having such a terrible time with in Texas right now. These are small pig-like animals that are again, basically harmless. And so, but people still hunt them, but hopefully their hunting desires are taken care of with trying to reduce our hog situation. I believe these are what, wild horses? Yeah, there's still a few wild horses from whenever.
Now, those are
They're-
trespassers from Mexico.
Yeah.
That have come across the
are a
river.
Real problem.
Multiplying too fast.
Yeah, they just,
Eating the
they're not
vegetation.
supposed to be there, and they could walk across the river.
There are bear. I just heard Texas Parks and Wildlife Television, watched it yesterday. The black bears are being reintroduced to the Devil's River Natural Area,
Ah.
not too far from here. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal that we're trying to up our bear population to keep things in balance. Again, just don't put a Snickers bar in your, you do not want to meet one in the middle of the night.
Going to the trailhead.
Obviously, yeah, they're heading to the trailhead, you know, mama and two cubs. Obviously don't get anywhere near them. Don't feed them. A fed bear is a dead bear. You do not want them to get habituated to human food. Also, you can see they're right by the road. Tons of danger. Another reason not to be driving at night. Just don't do it.
They don't have their backpacks on.
They're just day hiking.
We're hunting Snickers.
There we go. That's a really cool little bitty ones. Again, right by the side of the road.
And the sad thing with that is the day after that was taken, one of the babies was killed by a car on the road.
Yeah, because they're right on the road and people are
They're
just,
so little that.
they're little and people are just not paying attention. They're forgetting that you are a visitor in their home. Red fox probably talking to the coyote. Some kind of fox talking to the coyote.
No, it's a lynx.
Is that
No, it isn't a lynx.
With the ears?
It's a
Is that a
bobcat.
fox?
It's a fox.
With the white under the tail?
Make sure. Oh, yeah.
It's a bobcat.
I think it is a bobcat. Sorry.
Yeah. It's not a fox. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Plenty of deer, no shortage of deer. Also another reason not to be driving at night. The deer love to eat the grass right along the sides
Mule
of the
deer down
roads.
in the desert and whitetail up in the mountains.
Okay, so you have two different kinds of deer, and that's why you need bobcats and mountain lions to keep the deer from becoming a zillion deer that eat all the vegetation, and they actually starve themselves because they eat all the vegetation. So you need nature in balance. I was trying to, is that in the badger family?
Badger.
Badger family. At first I thought it was my friend the skunk, but I couldn't see his tail. Incredible bird. Mr. Gouldy, Mrs. Gouldy. Bird.
Vermilion flycatcher.
What kind of flycatcher?
Vermilion.
Vermilion flycatcher. Yeah, I just got back from the Whooping Crane Festival in February, and I saw birds that, it boggles the imagination, the beauty of the birds, along the southern part of Texas. Really love this picture. Do you know who took this one, Liz?
I don't.
But yeah, you can see the whole family. They're having a conference. They're having a conference.
It's a convention.
What's that?
That's actually a convention of birds.
oh, convention, excuse me, not a conference, it's a convention of birds. I suspect they're eating the insects that are on that yucca. A lot of the yuccas are home to lots of insects, so the birds have obviously figured that out. Somebody was being very immodest, taking a picture of it, taking a bath.
He was just cute.
Birds are incredible. You wouldn't want to get anywhere near these cacti. That looks like a, what's the cacti? I'm trying to remember. I used to have one.
Cholla.
Cola.
Is that a cholla? Yeah, but the birds just sit on it like, that's no big deal.
Cholla.
Cholla, sorry. Red-headed woodpecker of some kind. This guy's a little out of place. That's like a seabird. That's like a plover of some kind.
It's a killdeer.
Killdeer. Must have come up from the coast, maybe.
No, killdeer all over
Oh, are
North
they?
America.
They're
Okay.
everywhere.
All right.
This was the last trip I was there.
Yeah, and always remember that road runners are very, very important because they'll take a snake down faster than you can imagine. You watch a road runner head to head with a snake, it's quite a battle.
Yeah, but you should see the coyote.
Oh, you talking about coyote and a road runner tangling? Or
Yeah.
coyote and a snake? Oh, sorry.
That's a battle.
Wile E. Coyote. Sorry, Dan, I'm a little slow on the uptake. All right. Okay, a few final slides. Is that a Jerusalem cricket? Anybody know?
No, it's not a Jerusalem cricket.
Whatever it is, it's
Big Ben grasshopper.
Big Ben grasshopper. Thank you.
Ooh, Komodo dragon.
Big Ben style. Lovely blue bonnets until you look in right in the middle, and that is what kind of snakes? I can't. Is that bull? Are they bull snakes or rat snakes or?
No, they're,
I don't think they're rattlesnakes, are they?
I think so.
I
They're
don't.
definitely poisonous because they have a flat head.
Because of the head?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. Just remember, all snakes, they live there. That's their home. You leave them alone. Period. End of story. Probably either a bayonet plant or a softleaf yucca with the beautiful flowers. Those beautiful flowers bring in all kinds of moths and other insects for the pollination. They have tons and tons of these purple pancake cacti, another Octio, and there's a sodal. There's actually, you see the sodal, that's the green plant. I have those growing in my yard. They put out 10-foot stalks that after the flowers are gone, you cut them down and cut them in half. They are the best hiking sticks, walking sticks you can have. So sodals are really, really wonderful little plants. And there is cactus rustling that goes on all through this part of Texas. Some kind of hava agave of some kind.
Century plant.
What's that?
Century
It
plant.
could be a century plant, yeah, it could be.
Without,
It's certainly in that family. Yeah, you can see it's hanging on. Nature does amazing things. And that's I always find that one of the most amazing things. You know, a cacti or a rock or a bush, sticking straight out from a 1,000-foot cliff, just hanging around. I believe that's a wax plant.
Condalia.
Condalia?
Condalia, wax plant.
That's the wax plant, yeah. That's what they were using
That was
to.
what was strapped to that burrow in the early picture.
Oh, was it? I thought that was hay. Wasn't hay, that was the wax.
Stuff dried to make wax out of it.
You can see why this presentation's a committee. Big Bend is a gift from those of us who came before us. We all need to protect it. We have fire, sulfur dioxide, acid rain, pollution from Mexico, but not to be outdone, we're sending some pollution from Texas down. But fire it's a problem, but it's not a problem. It's a problem when it gets literally too hot. Yellowstone, the north part of Yellowstone has suffered from that. Some of the Yellowstone fires were so hot that it sterilized the soil and nothing has grown there. But if you have a normal fire, then it actually helps the vegetation. It changes the vegetation. North rim of the Grand Canyon has a whole area where the pine trees were burned into nothing, and they in less than 10 years, they are being replaced with aspens. The aspens are replacing where the pine trees used to be. So, and that's one of the firefighting crew, many of whom come from Mexico. They come over to fight the fires in Big Bend.
This was last, August.
Yeah.
Was this the last trip?
This was, April. Almost a year ago.
Almost a year ago, yeah. So I mean, it's a tough deal, you know. How many fires do you put out? How many fires do you let burn?
And how do you get water to a place that has no water?
And how do you get water to a place, you know? And you certainly can't dip down into the Rio Grande for, too many buckets of water.
Not 2 miles away.
So, I mean, it's a tough deal, but fire has been around a long time, and all of our forests have survived. But certainly, it's very tough, especially because, we're at Bandelier, where you're going, Mark. Obviously, y'all had the huge fire, what is that, 10 years ago, approximately? And it's heartbreaking, but then when nature regenerates, then you see it's part of the cycle of nature.
These pictures are Boot Canyon that you saw in other pictures.
Boot Canyon where we showed the rock, okay. Is this an outhouse?
No, that's in Boot Canyon, and it's a cabin that the rangers use for researchers, and when the rangers are doing some work up there, and it escaped burning, although some of the siding on it burned off in the fire last year, but they managed to save it.
Okay.
It did burn down the outhouse, the compost.
Yeah, I see.
At the South Rim.
So,
That's one thing good. The Park Service has been very good in strategic places. They're putting properly designed outhouses now, because they do not want you out pooping and peeing in the woods if they can possibly help it. Just some final shots. Is that the windows?
No, that's
Yeah.
Elephant Tusk Mountain in the distance.
Okay.
Somebody who's never seen an elephant tusk named it that.
Looks like a Teton.
And
that's an actual picture.
make time for your adventure at Big Bend National Park. One final thing, because we are the Sierra Club. Plan ahead, reservations. Number 2 is by far, frankly, the most important thing. Bring more water than you think you're going to need. Long pants, closed shoes. The cacti are everywhere. You don't need a big giant cacti right in your shoe. Temperature changes, supplies and food. Make sure you've stocked up in Marfa, Marathon, etc. By the time you get down toward Terlingua, other than a good margarita, there's not going to be as much choice. Get your gas tank at Panther. Watch where you squat. Strong tent stakes. You need to add one thing to that, Liz, and a hammer. You need your little plastic tent stakes that come with your cheapy tent won't work. You need serious tent stakes and a nice big hammer to hammer them in.
Because it does not rain.
What's that?
Because it does not rain in Big Bend.
Yeah, no, the ground is going to be hard. You can just pretty much count on that. All of the national parks now have really, really good websites. And of course, for 2 years it's been dominated by the COVID rules. But now they're starting to open up. And so always watch for those park alerts. And
Forgot the package tweezers.
every person, especially every Texan, deserves to find their rainbow at Big Bend National Park. It is amazing. I appreciate your time. And Liz, any of your photographers you want to recognize?
Got pictures beside you and I, Mark and Arthur and David Griggs.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you to all our photographers, and it was a lot of fun putting this together. And thanks, Liz. Liz did all of her hard work. Liz started with over 500. She started with over 500 pictures and distilled it down into
Okay.
this.
You forgot something very important.
And which would that be?
Who in here has never been to Big Bend National Park?
Yeah, we got some newbies.
Okay, in about October or so, November, we'll start taking reservations for February of 2023, and all of you will need to sign up.
It's fun.
Good, and I would like to finish, just remember, we got t-shirts for sale, We want to make sure any first timers that didn't get a calendar get a calendar. And I want to remind you the words of the great Edward Abbey: the idea of wilderness needs no defense. It only needs more defenders. And that's why Sierra Club exists, is we're trying to defend and save whatever wild America is left. We're trying to defend it and save it. Thank you very much, Dan.
And in the words of the great Woody Allen, 90% of life is just showing up.
That's right.
Thanks, Wendell, Mark, Liz, Arthur, David, for all the, and the Gouldies for their ornithological knowledge. Okay, that's the end of the program tonight, so I will remind you about if you want to go to the Fuzzy's Taco Place. It's up on Midway, right, Wendell?
Yeah.
Like a mile from here.
Yeah, it's close. It's
Just
very-
before you get to Spring Valley, okay?
On the
North on
left-hand side.
Midway.
On Midway. Okay, so thank you for coming. I hope you'll come back next month. And
I'll sign books if you want.
and if you want to buy one of Wendell's books here, entitled The Best Tin Can in Texas, he'll sign it for you.
This is the second edition.
Okay, thanks and good night, everybody.
Thank you.